What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Check the Kick. Sherdog.com is a website. I am the host, Devin. Out of town for this past fight card. I had some family kind of nearby locally, so I was over there hanging out with them. Was not at home, so I did not get to watch live. I did see the first couple fights live, and then, of course, those were not the good ones. The two fights I did discuss, the Ribovics versus Brenner fight was great. And then Duncan versus Rebecki was like an absolute banger. Poor Mateus Rebecki, the dude looks like it's like he needs a true hospital visit after every fight. I mean, you should probably go to the hospital after any of these MMA fights. But like this dude, huge hematoma on the head. And we're just going to breeze through that card as far as a recap. Tatsuro Taira defeated Hunsun Park. Kind of got, like, in my opinion, a 10-8 in the first round. Hurt him, dropped him, got some control. Second round, hit him with that beautiful face crank. Got that, like, standing back take, took him down. Forced him to go to the ground, and then crushed him with that. His head was, like, sideways. And Taira's young. He took that loss to Brandon Royval in a pretty close fight that he lost via splitty. I think it was clear that Royval won that. But, Tatsuro Taira is good, and he seems to be getting better. Poor kid on the mic after the fight, Bisping was like, who do you want next? And he's like, I want to fight for a title. And he's like, okay, well, you're not getting that, so give me a realistic fight. And that is kind of realistic for Taira. So I thought that was a little disrespectful, but typical Bisping. The co-main event was like fight of the year contender, Rebecki versus Duncan. By the end of this fight, I mean, like, Duncan was throwing these like super dope step and elbows, and this fight kind of went the way I predicted it. Even though I picked Rebecki to win, there's an argument that he did win. It's just like the crazy, juggernaut forward pressure Kool-Aid man style of that he takes, where he's just like gonna bust through your guard, gonna bust through your long range weapons, try to get in the pocket. He's huge. He's not tall, but he's short and super stout, pretty huge for the division, Rebecki, and is just like a wrecking ball. And then Chris Duncan had tons of answers for him with the step and elbows, putting things just out there. If American Top Team, they knew Rebecki was going to be crashing and blitzing, and if Duncan is using this long guard, throwing big chopping elbows, it worked really well. His knees in the clinch, fucking Chris Duncan, man. Like, we got Chris Leroy Duncan coming up, but I think this guy might be the real Chris Duncan and not Christian Leroy Duncan. Dude went to American Top Team and like has been consistently doubted over and over again. He's only, he's got a really good record, 14-2-0. Like, he's got one loss in the UFC. Like, I need to stop sleeping on Chris Duncan myself. And he was still like a pretty big underdog in this fight. And they got fight of the night. Duncan got his show money, his win money, and he got the fight of the night bonus. Unfortunately, Rebecki did not get his win money, but he did get fight of the night. Moving down the card, we had Esteban Ribovics taking on Elves Brenner. This was more of a one-sided still fight of the night. Like, Elves Brenner is just so tough, but Ribovics is just such a fucking dog. And he himself is really good and really violent. Brenner is just so durable. This fight also one fight of the night. Carl Hossa beat Nora Connell in a bad fight. We're going to talk about Neil Magny again, actually, in the middle segment of the show. But Neil Magny gets the TKO finish over Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. That was pretty dope. Kevin Vallejos looked okay against Danny Silva. Clearly he's good, but he's a huge favorite here, and kind of didn't fight like the odds portrayed. But he's still super young. Rinya Nakamura came back and crushed Nathan Fletcher with this like beautiful body kick with the toes pointed forward. Stabbed him straight in his guts and cost him crumble to the ground. Adolfo Vieira and Trey Shangor fought a terrible fight. Pulayev defeated Nick Klein. That kick to the body kind of started things off. Ashton Bashi came back and won, and he's a huge favorite. And then the first two fights in the card, Rafael Estevam was a big favorite. Felipe Bunes, and they had a pretty fun fight. I think Bunes, if you got an opponent that absolutely fucking botches weight like that, like 60% of your offensive delivery should just be to the body. Because like there was a lot of moments where Bunes was actually having success on the feet and opening up. Like on the feet, this fight was 50-50. But when Esteban went to the ground, Bunes is just like a way too willing guard player where in the first round, he had like a buggy choke, like locked in. And I don't even think the refs or anyone understood how close that like was, but Esteban kind of seemed to be pretty down bad there. But yeah, like if you got an opponent that misses weight by like 5 pounds, 60% of your offensive delivery, when it comes to strikes, should just be to the body. Like you should just be teeping and ripping body shots like over and over again. Kick the fucking body over and over again at distance, teep them to the body, and then like in boxing range, like all of your combinations should consist of a body shot. Like your exiting strike should be just like a big hook to the body. Or even in the clinch, just like get in the clinch and just start mugging the dude with knees to the body. But that's not what Buenas did. And he was like way too willing of a guard grappler. And then his takedown defense fell to bits and he got completely controlled. Apparently now the Nevada State Athletic Commission, NSAC, is only allowed to fine people 25% of their purse, no matter how bad they miss weight. I guess there's going to be some sort of like stipulations in regards to how much you can miss by. But yeah, you can miss 5 pounds and get, I feel like that's not right. I feel like there should be a discussion with the fighter that did not miss weight and their management team and the Nevada State Athletic Commission and then the team of the weight misser. And the conversation should go something along the lines of, hey, we showed up and made weight, so we should get and I mean, the fighter should also get their performance, not their performance money. Sorry, they should get their fight money, maybe not their win money, but like if they show up, make weight, and the other fighter can't do it and they fall off, like they should immediately at least get their fight purse. Stephen Thompson had that big issue, seems to just randomly people forget about, where he had issues where he didn't want to take a fight against someone that missed weight just passed in 2024. But either way, like if you miss weight, the conversation should be something like, hey, we want 40% of your purse. Do you accept it? Do you want a counter offer? Whatever. Like it should involve multiple parties, just not the athletic commission being like, okay, you're fine. This is what you take. But, yeah, whatever. And then Pierre Rodriguez defeat Ketlin Souza in a fight that we probably won't ever talk about again. Yeah, unfortunately, we lost the Azamat Bakoa versus Torres Finney fight because that like would have just been like my personal fight of the night. It would have been funny, but it was all around an okay card that like it delivered way better than it looked on paper. Moving on to the middle segment of the show, what's hot? We are going to talk about a kind of funny phenomenon that is happening right now in the UFC, and the segment is going to be called The Return of the Unks. It's kind of a play on words from The Return of the King. I've been listening to Lord of the Rings on audiobook for like the 3,000th time, so that's the best I can come up with. There's a crazy phenomenon going on, and we're noticing it in like all of these recent cards where all of these old dudes are still pulling up, showing out, doing the thing, and we even had one on this past card. We had Neil Magny defeat Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos. Eliseo is an old man himself, but Neil Magny, the nearly 45 fight veteran who had just an incredible amount of fights in the UFC alone. He's like still holding the record for the most wins at welterweight. Got a pretty damn good win this weekend where like he didn't look terrible. He didn't look washed. And he's had moments in the past where he looked absolutely washed. And I kind of went through and I just started jotting names down and I'm like, okay, so we've got like Davy Grant last weekend at like almost 40 years old at bantamweight, crushing Damon Blackshear. That was really cool. We had Neil Magny just this past weekend. We had Muslim Salikov with that incredible lead kind of like pull counter / like overhand that he threw with his lead hand and absolutely crushed Carlos Leal, who was like significantly younger, actually has more fights than him, is like a veteran, was a huge favorite. We had Michael Johnson recently just beat up Daniel Zellhuber, drop him really, really bad. We had D-Rod over Kevin Holland. Like D-Rod himself is like 39. Freaking Derek Lewis absolutely crushed Taliesin Teixeira, who he was another big underdog. Before that, Hani Barcelos, look what he's been doing to guys like Peyton Talbot. He went out there and beat Garbrandt. We had Kamaru Usman defeat Joaquin Buckley. You know, he himself is almost 40. So there's something going on with these old unks pulling up and kind of doing the damn thing. And it makes me wonder, you know, when is RDA going to make his comeback? I'm just kidding. RDA looked pretty bad his last time out, but these older guys that have like crafty, good games are like still remaining fairly athletic. Guys that rely on their athleticism, like Michael Johnson or Muslim Salikov, or even Derek Lewis at heavyweight at 40. Like, you know, he has relied on his athleticism a ton and his raw power. And, you know, they say power is the last thing to go, but like if you go and look at those three guys, for example, like their delivery systems look pretty peak performance still. Which begs the question, now that USADA is gone, are we seeing more longevity with these older athletes that are able to preserve their bodies and remain at a higher level of athletic performance? Or is it the game is starting to stagnate? I don't know. And you know, and it's tough to say. This is just I'm really more of having fun. I guarantee if you ran through and just started taking an average of all the numbers over the past 2 years, or maybe you can just start the day that USADA left, guarantee the younger guys, you know, the younger guys and girls are still going to win. But I do find it interesting. We have like Angela Hill coming up against Yasmin Lucindo this coming weekend, and I think she's probably going to beat Lucindo, and she's an underdog again. And I mean, she's not an unk, but she's an auntie. So it's just, I'm stuck where I'm like, man, you know, is it really no USADA? Are we getting to a place where MMA is starting to stagnate, you know? And then you got guys like Joshua Van who would, you know, be like, hey, I'm young as hell and I'm about to fight for a title and I might win it. You know, we have Hamzat Chimaev. He's been around for a little bit. You know, he's been a pro for a little while, but he's still himself fairly young. But you know, got guys that are like Michael Johnson may re-enter the rankings at 155. Derek Lewis has been holding a spot in the rankings for a freaking million years. D-Rod is ranked in the top 15. Salikov could go out there and beat D-Rod. Like Grant Dawson. Sorry, Davy Grant. I don't know why I said Grant Dawson. Davy Grant. Like you go look through the men's top 15 at bantamweight, he could be ranked there already. So I pulled the UFC rankings for men's bantamweight in the top 15, and you know, number 15 is Montel Jackson, number 14 is Kyler Phillips, Marcus McGee is number 13. I don't know why he dropped down, and I don't know why Vinicius Oliveira is above him, but like, you know, from 10 to 15, I think Davy Grant could beat Kyler Phillips. I think he could potentially beat Montel Jackson. Marcus McGee is very good. That might be a tough fight for him. Probably could beat Vinicius Oliveira. He himself is, you know, crazy and wild. He could beat Ayman Zahabi, who's ranked number 10. Probably beat Rob Font, who's ranked number 9. Get a really, really close fight with Cheeto. Like, these guys are you know, dudes are pretty damn good. Like, and let's take a look at the top 15 of men's lightweight, which is also fucking stacked. Joel Alvarez is ranked number 15. That's going to be a real tough fight for someone like Michael Johnson. But like, you told me Michael Johnson went out there and beat Renato Moicano or a current stage Michael Chandler. Those dudes are ranked 11 and 12. Or even Benoit Saint Denis. I would not be surprised. I totally think he could do that. He maybe even could pull off a win against Grant Dawson. So I don't know what's going on. This is just an observation. Freaking Kamaru Usman, like, he looked pretty fucking good against Buckley. He's still in the rankings, and he could probably beat a lot of these, you know, he could probably beat a lot of these guys. And now I'm going to go take a look at those rankings. Usman's ranked number 5. Like, and I could, Usman would beat Gabriel Bonfim, who's ranked number 13. Sorry, number 14. He beat Covington, who's ranked number 9 still. He beat Gilbert Burns, who's still ranked at 10. Like, these are guys behind him, but, you know, would he beat Leon Edwards in a rematch? Maybe. But yeah, these dudes are, the longevity is just surprising. Maybe they're going down south and just getting a ton of stem cells. Maybe they're going down south and get something else. Maybe the game is starting to cap off. Maybe they're in a division that's in a weird transitional period. You know, it's Jared Cannonier, another old guy out there doing the damn thing. Reach out to me, put it in the comments, or send me a message right here. This is my handle, like on all platforms. Or you could leave a comment here on this YouTube video if you're listening on YouTube. And let me know why you think these unks are starting to come back. They're giving me hope. I love to watch the underdog win. I love to watch the old guy win. It gives me something to root for and look forward to. And yeah, just tell me what you guys think. What is your idea? Moving on to the final segment of the show. In with the new, we're going to talk about this weekend's UFC fight, Dolidze versus Hernandez. This is happening back at the Apex again, where we're at the last of 3 fight night cards in the Apex before UFC 319. Not this weekend, but the following weekend. That should be really, really dope. But until then, we have a pretty decent night of fights, like an okay, just a real generic Apex. And I really hope we really get away from these soon. I'm okay with like 3 cards a month. You know, have a little more off time. I'm totally okay with that. Like if we can, I would much rather have I know this is going to sound crazy because most people hate this, but like, I don't mind like a 14 or 15 fight card if it's like worth me sitting on my couch that whole day and just like watching MMA. I'm totally cool for. I also live on the West Coast. I don't live on the West Coast, but I operate off of Pacific time. So like if a card starts at 3 p.m. in the afternoon and then the main card kicks off at 7 and it wraps up at 10 and then we go into the post-fight show, like I'm cool with that. Like that's nothing for me. But like we got this 11 fight card coming up this weekend and it's just like okay. And yeah, my Saturday is a little bit shorter for fights. And I mean, I'm not complaining because I like to watch the fights, but it's one of those where it's like, you know, let's start condensing these. Like, let's maybe break up these 11 fight cards and spread them out a little more, throw 2 fights here, through, 2-3 here. And let's just make some more super stacked cards that are like on the road in arenas we could do 2 fight nights on the road every month and then 1 pay-per-view. That would be like ideal for me. That'd be awesome. Maybe we'll get that. Pretty decent fights on this card. Like C-Rod is fighting Andre Fili. Gene Matsumoto is fighting Miles Johnson. I don't really care about the Chris Leroy Duncan fight versus Eric Anders. Eros Medic and Gilbert Urbina should be a pretty interesting fight. And Julia Stoliarenko is always at least like funny to watch fight. Just her fights are always interesting. Like, can she rip someone's arm off? Who knows? We're going to talk about the co-main and main event. Those are the 2 best fights on the card by far. First fight we're going to talk about, Steve Erceg taking on Ode Osbourne. And the odds are pretty wide on this one. Erceg is a minus 550, 585 favorite. Ode is at plus 400, 410. This is at men's bantamweight, even though these dudes are both featherweights. I believe Ode Osbourne actually has another fight at bantamweight as well due to short notice. And Erceg was supposed to be fighting Alex Perez, and then some stuff, got moved around with the Hunsum Park and the Taira fight, and then they brought in Ode Osbourne. So this division's kind of been weird and wonky over the past, 2 weeks, literally. The Alex Perez fight would have been a much more of a test for Steve Erceg to see where he's still at, but I'm kind of okay that he's ending up fighting Ode Osbourne here. Erceg got into the UFC as this kind of tall, lanky Australian BJJ guy, because he went on a big, long submission streak before entering the UFC. Came off the Australian regional scene. He pulled up, beat David Dvorak, beat Alessandro Costa, who that's actually a good win, and then knocked out Matt Schnell. Got himself into a title fight like right away. The UFC kind of failed him, and so did his management here after that. Then he got knocked out by KKF, and then he had a pretty close fight with Brandon Moreno. Brandon Moreno actually got a win in Mexico finally, but he did lose at the unanimous decision. Ode Osbourne has been much more of an up and down guy. And he himself comes off the Contender Series. He's been in the UFC for quite some time. He lost against Brian Kelleher his first time out, and he beat Jerome Rivera, who's a guy that should have just never been in the UFC. Knocked out by Manel Kopp, beat CJ Vergara, beat Zaruk Adashev, got knocked out by Tyson Nam, beat Charles Johnson in a really close fight. Lost 3 fights in a row. Also Mabaya, Jafel Fialo, and then Rolando Rodriguez, Lazy Boy. And then last time out, he beat Louis Garou. So this is a guy that's, 1-1, lost 2, 1-2. He's kind of been in the UFC for a little while. And he is better than his record would, allude you to think he is. But that's just like typical men's flyweight shit anyway. Like these dudes are all like good at MMA. Like Ode Osbourne is as skillful as he's like more skillful of a fighter than 90% of the men's heavyweight division and probably 99% of the women's bantamweight division. He's just a flyweight. Like you have to be very fucking skillful, and you still may be like middle of the pack, and that's kind of where Ode Osbourne is. And I think Erceg, he's fought really 2 different levels of competition in the UFC as far as Erceg, like Matt Schnell and those guys being like the epitome of one side, and then, championship level dudes on the other side. And I don't think KKF would blast him the way he did again, but Erceg did get caught leaving the pocket with his head up. And maybe Ode Osbourne could catch him in a moment like that. Ode Osbourne is a huge dude for the division. He's, 5'7". But Erceg is also a tall, lanky dude for the division. So they're both going to be stuck fighting dudes where, they're not really used to fighting guys as large as them, like Erceg's 5'8". Erceg is a good athlete, even though he doesn't read as one. Like if you look at the guy, and you hear him talk, you're like, this guy, he's not a freaking athlete. No, he's a good athlete. He's really good in the scrambles. He's not as good as an athlete as Ode Osbourne. Ode Osbourne can also scramble himself, but Erceg can make mistakes like exiting the pocket on a straight line with his hands, not really tucked tight against a shifting combination puncher like KKF. Number 1, Ode Osbourne isn't that guy. And number 2, that was just a beautifully set up shifting combination by Kai Kara-France, really similar to the one that like Jorge Masvidal knocked out Darren Till with, or like one that Dustin Poirier used to like to throw a lot, where they, would shift their stance and, their lead hand becomes their rear hand, and then they just fucking cork you with it. And that's kind of what he did to Steve Erceg. I don't think that would happen again, even if they rematch, like I said. And Ode is big enough to like leap into the pocket and cover a ton of distance and like hit Erceg with a straight down the pike. But Erceg himself is like a much more nip tuck boxer, typically, especially offensively. Like punching form is really, really good. He's got a really, really, really good lead hook and a good lead jab hand. He's got really good outside footwork. He's got really good angles. He's really, really good at staying tidy in the pocket, slipping something by a hair, and then returning with the counter. He will feint punches out of his opponents and then counter those shots. He will cover up in the pocket and then, return fire. He'll wait for you to fire and then return fire and beat you to the punch. He's just good at that. He's pretty damn good. And he's a good fucking scrambler, and he's got good BJJ. Like he could scramble with Pantoja, even though that's kind of what lost him the fight. Ode Osbourne just makes too much mistakes against, just in general. And he's a good fighter. Ode Osbourne is not bad. He's got decent striking, decent grappling. When I say decent, like compared to the rest of the division, he's big, he's athletic, he's got good power. But he's just too mistake prone. I think Erceg hurts him with something in the pocket and then maybe takes him down and like subs him out. I could see like a club and sub for Erceg. Erceg may take a safe approach though, and then maybe start to open up in the third. And like the first two rounds are first round's close. The second round is like a clear Erceg round. And then by the third round, he's like piecing Ode up and running away with it. Erceg is a guy that is well schooled and he's not dumb. He does typically fight pretty smart. He was literally just thrown to the lions, thrown to the wolves, like right the second he got to the UFC. Brandon Moreno is like one of the, just an OG, great and incredible legendary champion. Pantoja himself, legendary champion. And then KKF, like one of the biggest punchers of the division who, got that win and fought for the title, even though he got dominated by Pants. But those guys are different than Ode Osbourne. So give me Erceg. I think Erceg is just going to win a dominant decision where he fights safe to try to, hold on. He doesn't want to go 4 losses in a row and get cut from the UFC. So first round's close. Second round is clear. Third round is, kind of becomes a beating. All right. And the last fight of the card we're going to talk about is the Jocelyn Edwards. I'm just kidding. Not trying to throw shade there. Sorry. Sorry, Priscilla Catchware and Jocelyn Edwards, but we're going to be talking about the main event. We're going to be talking about Roman Dolidze, the Caucasian. He is taking on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. The reason why he's called the Caucasian is because he is from Georgia, and that is the Caucasus Mountain region, I hope. Odds on this fight. Fluffy Hernandez is a pretty large favorite. He is a minus 330. Roman Dolidze is coming back at plus 270. And I'm kind of, if you just look at this fight, you're like, oh, Fluffy is a grappler. He likes to wrestle. Roman Dolidze, he's a high-level BJJ guy. Made it to the Abu Dhabi scene, in the BJJ bracket, lost right away, whatever. But, good enough to get there. And Fluffy Hernandez is like kind of, I don't want to call him frumpy because that's mean, but like if you stand him next to Roman Dolidze, he looks like, looks like me, like, like he's just looks like a regular guy. But no, like Fluffy's 6 feet tall. Roman Dolidze is like 6'4". Dolidze definitely walks around 25 pounds heavier than Fluffy Hernandez. But that's just not like the one that's not MMA. Like the biggest guy or the most athletic guy doesn't always win. The odds are still a little bit interesting for me because Roman Dolidze is not bad, and he himself has like really proved himself. Like he's on a 3-fight win streak where he beat Marvin Vettori in their rematch very clearly. Marvin Vettori seems to have also fallen off a little bit, and since Roman Dolidze has joined Extreme Couture, he's just like gotten better since he's gotten over to Vegas. Beat Kevin Holland, beat the shit out of Kevin Holland, beat Anthony Smith. He did lose 2 fights in a row where he lost to Nasruddin Imavov, but he won all 5 rounds with Nasruddin, and Nasruddin is very good. Like Nasruddin just knocked out Adesanya, like fucked him up bad. He beat up Adesanya worse than Dricus and Strickland did it easier. And like it's weird because like his like one of his UFC losses was against Trevin Giles, and then he went and beat Laureano Staropoli, who wasn't good. He knocked out Kyle Dawkins, knocked out Phil Haas. That Jack Hermanson one was great, and then he lost to Vettori, lost to Imavov, and then he's on another 3-fight win streak. He only got 3 losses, and then Fluffy on the other hand, like he pulled up and got crushed to the body by Kevin Holland, and then has just fucking beat everyone up since then. Like, he had a no contest. He beat Jordan Wright, and then like it was like a no contest because he smoked pot. Like, come on. And then he lost via anaconda choke against Marcus Perez, who like is now pillow fighting people. Not kidding. He triangled Jung Young Park, Iron Turtle, like that's a good fucking win. He got knocked out by Kevin Holland, but then since then he like hit that beautiful guillotine on Rodolfo Vieira, who really, that showed us who he was. Beat Josh Frem, beat Marc-Andre Barriel, finished Edmund Shabazian, beat Roman Kopylov, good win. Knocked out Michel Pereira in a fucking beating. And then his last time out, rematched Brendan Allen and beat Brendan Allen in a very Brendan Allen type fight, in a fight that Brendan Allen was calling for. Mind you, he has 2 wins over Brendan Allen because he beat him in the LFA. This is a tough fight to call because Roman Dolidze is fucking huge and dry. Like, if you just had these dudes grapple, like start grappling right now, like enter the gym, warm up, and you're dry. Maybe you jumped rope for 5 minutes. You just got warmed up a little bit, did a couple jumping jacks, whatever your warm up is, and like these 2 dudes grapple. Like Roman Dolidze is probably gonna win. If they have a 20-minute like open match, Roman Dolidze is gonna probably win the first 10 minutes. Will he survive and not get finished in the other 10? That's kind of, and that's how this fight would probably go too. Roman Dolidze is just huge. He's got really good BJJ. He's got big ground and pound. He's fucking dangerous. He hits really, really hard. He's really, really tough and durable. Like, he doesn't get buzzed with shots. And he's going to weigh 25 pounds more than Fluffy. Like, walk around weight, easy. In the cage, probably easy as well. Like, one of these dudes looks like they could go to 170. The other one looks like they could and has been at 205. So that just makes it interesting for me. Roman Dolidze looks like a guy that should gas out, and he typically doesn't. However, Fluffy's whole entire thing is just like the cardio, the pressure, he is going to drown you. And it goes from like, and when he starts to drown his opponents, it becomes like a mobster's death where he chains center blocks to your legs and throws you in to the deep end of the pool, and there's nothing you can do to get out. Roman Dolidze will probably win the first round of this fight, and Fluffy striking is pretty good, but I think Dolidze will probably have a lot of success in the first and second round of this fight striking. And Dolidze's keys to victory here is to not take the back foot for 3 rounds. Like, he has to try to bank 3 rounds of this fight and then survive 2. If I was in the Dolidze corner, I'd be like, hey, this is a 15-minute sprint and then two rounds of like survival. We have to go and get up on the cards on this guy. And I think Dolidze could easily win the first 2 rounds of this fight. The other 3 are just a complete unknown. The odds are really, really wide for someone that's as dangerous and fucking huge as Roman Dolidze. Like, Rodolfo Vieira is really, really big, but this will be Fluffy's largest opponent in the UFC, kind of by far. So I'm just curious to see how like Fluffy's ability to just like be attritive and do damage against the cage, get the grappling positions off. Will he force Dolidze to take the back foot? Dolidze is also big and lumbering on the feet. And I think Fluffy's going to be the faster guy on the feet. And if I'm in the Fluffy corner, I'm like, hey, stick a jab on this guy, cut angles, hit him to the body, triple up your jab, and then rip punches to the body, cut angles, kick his body, throw head kicks, force him to block kicks. Don't be scared to entertain grappling, but like don't really, really go for tons and tons of grappling until like midway through the second round. Like, let him go out there and try to get up on you. Let him go out there and try to have a tit for tat with you on the feet. Because I don't think Dolidze is going to entertain a ground fight with Hernandez here. I could totally be wrong, but I really think that he's going to try to keep this on the feet, and he's going to probably try to make this look like, his fights with Anthony Smith and shit like that. I'm a huge Fluffy fan, but like I look through the division and I think like besides someone like Drakus or maybe like Hamzat, this could be like a low key one of his more tough matchups. I'm going to pick Fluffy in this fight. I think the attritive damage and the forward pressure and his hand speed with the boxing is going to make the biggest difference. If I'm in Fluffy's corner, I'm telling him, like I said, triple up your jab and then just rip him to the body, force him on the back foot. You're faster. Use your hand speed, get in, just stick a jab on him, force him on the back foot, rip shots to the body, push him against the cage, knee him to the body, rip shots to the body, break away, repeat the process. Like, maybe don't get into these long against the cage grappling, exchanges where Dolidze can use his size and power, but, force him on the back foot, push him up against the cage, knee him twice in the body, and then disengage and then repeat the process. Just make him work. And then as the fight goes on, third, fourth round, go for the takedowns, look for the ground and pound. Maybe you can force him to give his back. But a dude that's just so giant and athletic and good at BJJ and also is dangerous on the ground like Roman Dolidze is going to be a problem for Fluffy. The odds don't depict how close this fight could be. Give me Fluffy by 5-round decision, where the first 2 rounds go to Dolidze. The third round is like I don't know, but probably Fluffy. The 4th round is Fluffy, and then the 5th round is clear a Fluffy round. There's going to be like a third round where probably 70% of the people think Fluffy won, but the other 30% think that Dolidze won. And it'll be a close fight. But give me Fluffy to have a clear 5th round where we do think he wins the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And that is the show, guys. Big UFC card coming up week after next. So we're definitely going to do something for that, for the Dricus Duplessis versus Khamzat Chimaev fight. Aaron Pico is making his debut. So we definitely want to talk about that. Until then, thank you so much for tuning in and enjoy the fights.